Hare Krishna, welcome everyone to our Chaitanya Caritāmrta overview class. Thank you for joining in. We'll begin with our prayers. Om Ajnanatimmirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padkamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamsha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Tavadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhan He Krishna Karuna Dinabandhu Gopesha Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya eva cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Namo Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Nitinamine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshitarini Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna. So welcome everyone. We are discussing from Chaitanya Caritāmrta and we are discussing the 7th chapter, Lord Chaitanya in 5 features. And in this chapter we heard how Chaitanya Mahaprabhu he went to Varanasi because he wanted to deliver all the Mayavadis headed by Prakashananda Saraswati, and he heard all their criticisms. And then when these Mayavadis headed by Prakashananda Saraswati, they asked him, why are you not studying Vedanta? Na kare Vedanta path kare sankirtan. Why are you dancing like a sentimental person? Then Mahaprabhu told, actually, my spiritual master has given me instructions that Tumar Vedanta Path nahi ka adhikar. You are not qualified to study Vedanta. Krishna Nama Japasada Ei Mantrasar. You chant the holy names. So therefore I am chanting. So then these sannyasis, they said, okay, but why are you not studying Vedanta with us? You are such a wonderful, just seeing you, we understand that you are Sakshat Narayan. And then Mahaprabhu says that actually, the explanations given by Shankaracharya, they are not correct. They are indirect explanations. You are covering the direct explanation and giving the indirect explanation. That is not right. And then he explained in great detail what is the flaw of Mayavad philosophy. Then all the sannyasis, they requested, okay, you please tell, what is your understanding? So then Mahaprabhu described in great detail his understanding, the direct explanation of Vedanta, and then hearing all the explanations, all the sannyasis, they were completely amazed and they accepted that. They say in 148th verse, they say, dear sir, you are Supreme Lord personified. You are Sakshat Narayan. So please excuse us for our offenses. And Mahaprabhu, being such a benevolent, Karunayavatirana Kalau, he is the supreme merciful incarnation. He forgave all of them. Ei matita sabar shami aparad sabakare Krishna nam korila prasad. So he forgave all of them and he gave them Krishna nam. He initiated them. All of them became devotees. And Prabhupada writes, this is the example in preaching. When we are preaching, we will find so many of the opposing elements. But we should be humble enough. We should be strong and firm, but humble. That is how a devotee is a gentleman. He knows how to deal with people. He learns how to be humble and firm when he is with outsiders. As Prabhupada would say, he should be lion at the chase and lamb at home. When you are outside, you should be very, very strong, firm, but humble. And that's what Mahaprabhu did. With his beauty, with his sweet words, with his influence, he attracted the minds of all these Mayavadi sannyasis. So then, after all these Mayavadis, they accepted Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as a supreme. So they made him sit in their midst, and they all took meal together. Tabe sab sannyasi Mahaprabhu ke laya bhiksha kori lena sabhe madhye vasaya. So this is a very, very important thing which Mahaprabhu is doing. He is showing by his personal example. Again, another preaching, innovation. A strict follower, very rigid follower. What he would do? What Mahaprabhu is doing here? He took prasad with all these Mayavadis. If somebody is a rigid follower, he'll say, oh, this food is not offered to Krishna. And Prabhupada writes in the purport, although the food was not offered to the deity, but still Mahaprabhu accepted it. Why? Just because these Mayavadis, they had accepted the holy names of the Lord. So anyone who accepts the names of the Lord, he is a Vaishnava. And therefore Mahaprabhu is showing, sometimes you should just keep aside some strict rules and regulations to please the person who is trying to come close to Krishna. And Prabhupada himself did it. When Srila Prabhupada was in Delhi, and one very influential rich lady, she arranged huge pandal program for Prabhupada, and it was for 10 days, and every day thousands of people were attending. 10,000 people almost every day. And after it was a successful pandal program, so this lady, she invited Prabhupada and all the disciples to her home. So Prabhupada came with all his Western disciples, and this lady had made huge feast for Prabhupada. But devotees, they forgot to tell her that they don't eat onion garlic. So this lady, out of her innocence, she had made a very delicious prasad, but there was onion and garlic in that. And all the devotees, they are eating, and they find there is onion in that. So one devotee tells Prabhupada in his ears, there is onion in this prasad. Prabhupada became so angry. He said, there is no onion in this prasad. Eat it. So all the devotees were surprised because they were seeing onion pieces. Then Prabhupada, when he came back with all his disciples, he said, actually, this lady, she helped us so much. So it is our responsibility to reciprocate with her properly, and you should have informed her previously that we don't eat onion garlic. That is your fault. So whatever it takes. And Prabhupada, he went to such an extent that one time one devotee told Prabhupada, I cannot go to China. I'll not get vegetarian food. Prabhupada said, eat meat but preach. Of course, the devotee did get nice vegetarian prasad. But Prabhupada was ready to go to any extent to preach. And Mahaprabhu is setting the example personally. Apani achari Prabhu shikhaimu sabare. He took prasad. He took the food. Sitting with all these Mayavadis, although previously he would not even associate with them, forget about eating with them. But now, because all of them, they had accepted the holy names of the Lord, and they had accepted Mahaprabhu as the Lord. So therefore, Mahaprabhu, he accepted the food which they offered. And then after taking prasad, Mahaprabhu, he returned to his residence, and He performed wonderful pastimes in this way. Bhiksha kari Mahaprabhu kaila aila vasa ghare, hena chitra lila kore gauranga sundara. These are the wonderful, astonishing pastimes of Lord Sri Chaitanya. Those personalities, they were not ordinary Mayavadi. They were not ordinary, scholars. They were Mayavadi sannyasis headed by Prakashananda Saraswati. Varanasi was the hub of Mayavadis. And there were not one, two, there were thousands of Mayavadi sannyasis. And Mahaprabhu, just by one meeting, he transformed all of them. That is the power of Lord Sri Chaitanya. If Lord Sri Chaitanya wants, he can, and he has shown by his example, he can deliver an entire universe within seconds, within moments, just by his glance. When Mahaprabhu was traveling in South India, he would just look at people and they would start dancing. He would embrace them and they would become pure devotee. They would get love of God. So that is the glorious pastime of Lord Sri Chaitanya. Hena chitra lila kare gauranga sundar. Nobody can even think of performing such wonderful pastimes. And when Mahaprabhu, he came back, and Chandrasekhar and Tapan Mishra, who were originally very distressed and disturbed because they were not getting, they had to hear every day criticism of Lord Sri Chaitanya. When they heard about the victory of Lord Sri Chaitanya, and when they heard how all the Mayavadis, they accepted Mahaprabhu as the supreme, they were all very pleased. Prabhupada writes, this is an example of how a sannyasi should preach Krishna consciousness. Mahaprabhu did not go to Varanasi with a group of devotees. He went alone. But because he had such faith, he had such convictions in the process of the holy chanting of the holy names, he could transform everyone. So we can transform others by our preaching to the extent we are convinced about the process. So what is actually preaching? Preaching is sharing our convictions. The more we are convinced about the process, the more we can convince others. And that's what Mahaprabhu has shown in this pastime. He was so convinced. He could transform not one, not two. He could transform thousands of Mayavadi sannyasis. And in current times, we don't even see, we don't even need a proper Mayavadi. Most of the Indians who claim themselves to be Mayavadis, who say we don't believe in God, we don't believe in form of the God, they are just making a show of spirituality. They don't know actually what is Mayavad. But these Mayavadis, they were not ordinary. They knew Mayavad thoroughly. But Mahaprabhu was so strong, so convinced. Prabhupada writes he did not have many friends there, but by his powerful preaching, he defeated everyone. One more important thing to be noted here is when we are faced with some people who are opposed to our philosophy, we should deal with them in such a way that they are transformed. We should not just be interested in defeating them with our philosophy, because it is said, a man who is convinced against his will is of the same opinion still. By our purity, by our convictions, we should learn how to transform people so that they can take to Krishna consciousness. So after this incident, so many sannyasis, they were coming every day to take darshan of Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And whenever Mahaprabhu would visit the city of Varanasi, huge crowds would come to take darshan because he was very famous. Because Prakashananda Saraswati became a devotee and all these sannyasis became devotees. So naturally the news spread like wildfire. Everyone in Varanasi knew who is Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And whenever he would be staying at the home of Chandrasekhar Acharya, sometime a huge crowd of people would gather in front of his door, hundreds and thousands of devotees, thousands of people. So Mahaprabhu, what he would do, he would just come out and he would make everybody chant the holy names of the Lord. When Lord would go to Vishweshwara temple, Vishweshwar is Lord Shiva. There also hundreds and thousands of people would come to take Mahaprabhu's darshan. Prabhupada writes a very elaborate purport in this verse, 157 verse. There it tells that it is very interesting that generally Vaishnavas do not visit the temple of the Devatas. But here we see that Lord Sri Chaitanya, he went to take darshan of Lord Shiva. He regularly visited Vishweshwara temple. Why Lord did that? Prabhupada answers that Lord does not, the Vaishnavas do not behave impudently with anyone, what to speak of Devatas, who are such exalted personalities, who are the administrators of the universe, who are great devotees of the Lord. So Vaishnavas they give respect even to an ant. So what is the problem in giving respect to the Devatas? After all, who are all these Devatas? They are all the administrators, servants of the Lord. Shrishti Sthiti Pralaya Sadhana Shakti Reka Chaye Vayasya Bhuvanani Vibharati Durga Ichhanurupam Apiyasya Sacheshta Tesa Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. Shrishti Sthiti Pralaya. Creation, maintenance, and destruction of this universe is happening through the energies headed by Durga Devi. So who are all these Devatas? Durga, Lord Shiva. Who is Lord Shiva? He is like same Krishna in a different form. Shiram Yatha Dadivikara Vishesha Yogat. So therefore, one should be very, very careful to give respect to Devatas. Prabhupada quotes many verses from Brahma Samhita where it is described how even Ganapati, he takes the lotus feet of Lord Narasimha on his head. Yadpad pallava yugam vinidhaya kumbha dvandve pranama samaye saganadiracha ichhanurupam vignan vihantum alamasya jagatrayasya govindamadi purusham tamaham bhajami. Lord Ganesha, who is known as the destroyer of all the obstacles, from where does he get his power from? He gets his power from the Supreme Lord Narasimhadev. So therefore, there is no problem in giving respect to the Devatas. Because a devotee always know that when I am offering respect to the Devatas, I am just offering respect to the representative of the Lord. Chayev Karma Sachiva, Bhagavatam describes. Who are these Devatas? They are just Karma Sachiva. They are just the representatives of the Lord and maintaining the administration of this universe. So Prabhupada writes, even if somebody goes to a temple of the Devatas, Lord Ganesha, Shiva, Durga, one should understand that these are all the empowered representatives and the expansions of the Lord. They should be never accepted as the impersonalists worship. Impersonalists, they also worship the deities. They also worship Devatas called Pancha Upasana. They worship 5 deities. But what is their purpose? What is their intention behind worshipping the deities? By the worship of the deities, they want to step over the deities and become the supreme themselves. One time Srila Prabhupada was with his disciples going for a morning walk, and they had to cross a small ditch. So a devotee, he went on the other side, he gave hand to Prabhupada, and Prabhupada, he held his hand and crossed this ditch and pushed him. That disciple, he fell down in that ditch. And this disciple was bewildered. What's happening? Prabhupada said, this is what Mayavadis do. They take shelter of the Guru, they take help of the Guru, and then they cross this, so-called attachment of the material world, and then they, step on the head of the Guru and reject him. We are not worshipping devatas and demigods in this form. Whenever Mahaprabhu, he would go to the bank of Ganga, thousands and thousands of people would come to take his darshan. And he would chant, he would make everyone chant. So in this way, after delivering all the people of Varanasi, Lord, he decided to leave Varanasi. But he stayed in Varanasi for 2 months. What was the purpose? The actual purpose of Mahaprabhu's visit to Varanasi was, Prabhupada writes, he wanted to give instructions to to Srila Sanatana Goswami. Because Mahaprabhu knew he is my commander. He is the general who is going to, do so many things for me in the future. So therefore, Mahaprabhu wanted to give exclusive focus and attention to Srila Sanatana Goswami. So 2 months, every day Mahaprabhu was speaking to Sanatana Goswami. And he gave so many instructions. Tumi kariha bhakti shastrera prachar, Mathuraya lupta tirthera kariha uddhar, Vrindavane Krishna seva Vaishnava achar, Shruti smriti shastra kariha prachar. So Mahaprabhu, he gave 4 instructions to these Goswamis. Please spread this process of Krishna consciousness, devotional service, bhakti by writing literatures. Tumi kariha bhakti shastrera prachar. Please write books. Mathuraya lupta tirthera kariha uddhar. Please excavate the holy places. Before Sanatana Goswami and Loknath Goswami went to Vrindavan, there was not even a single temple in Vrindavan. It was just a jungle inhabited by some tribal people. Because Mughals, they had attacked and the entire Vrindavan was destroyed. It was just jungle. So Loknath Goswami himself excavated more than 330 holy places. And then Sanatana Goswami went. Mathuraya lupta tirthera kariha uddhar, and he started excavating so many holy places. Vrindavane Krishna seva Vaishnava achar. Please establish temples and establish huge, elaborate deity worship. And by your personal behavior, please preach this message. So with all, to fulfill all these instructions, Mahaprabhu, he spent time with Sanatana Goswami. And after all these purposes were fulfilled, Lord sent Sanatana Goswami to Vrindavan and he returned to Jagannath Puri. So after this, Kaviraj Goswami says, I have given a brief explanation of these pastimes. I will explain later. I shall describe in an extensive way later. Because, Kaviraj Goswami, at what age he is writing? He is writing at the age of 94. Ami vriddha jara tur likhite ka paekar, mane kichu smarane na hue. Na dekhiye nayane na suniye shravane, tabu likhiye bada vismay. So Kaviraj Goswami is telling that, I am not able to see anything. I cannot hear. My hands are trembling. Still I am writing. You know why I am writing? Because if I don't write, the devotees will not get to hear the pastimes of Lord Sri Chaitanya, because Ādī-Līlā bhakta ganadhan payayara agyadhan rajera vaishnavagan bandotara mukhya haridas. I have got this instruction, this Agya Dhan, from all the Brajavasis. That's why I'm writing, because if I will not write, that then devotees will be bereft of this treasure. These pastimes are the treasure of the devotees. So therefore, he wants to give everything in synopsis now. Although it's described in detail, but still he's saying, I have described in a briefly. Because Caitanya Chandrera Lila Agad Apar. Caitanya Chandrera Lila Koti Samudra Gambhir. It is unmeasurable, immeasurable, unfathomable ocean of pastimes Mahaprabhu has performed. Even Lord Shiva, Brahma, Shiva, Shesha, Yar Pai Nahi Anta. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Lila Adbhuta Ananta Brahma, Shiva, Shesha, Yar Pai Nahi Anta. So Lord performs unlimited pastimes. Who can describe? Even Shesha, even Lord Shiva, they cannot describe. So therefore, Kaviraj Goswami is worried. If I continue to write one pastime, I will not be able to explain and complete the whole book. That's what happened with Vrindavan Das Thakur. As he started writing this book, Chaitanya Bhagavat, Nityananda Leela Varnane Hoila Avesh, Chaitanya Rashesha Leela Rahila Avashesh. So when he started writing the pastimes of Nityananda Prabhu, he became so absorbed, he could not write the pastimes of Lord Sri Chaitanya in detail. Seishav Leelara Shunite Vivaran Vrindavana Vashi Bhaktera Utkantitaman. So the devotees of Vrindavan, Brajavasis, they wanted to hear those pastimes of Mahaprabhu which Vrindavan Das Thakur didn't describe. That's why they gave me order. That's why I'm writing. Teho ati kripa kari agya koila more Chaitanya Rashesha Leela Varni Bharatare. So they gave me mercy and they instructed me, please describe the pastimes. Because when Raghunath Das Goswami was speaking on the bank of Radha Kund, he was there. Kaviraj Goswami was there. He was listening. Teho thoila Raghunathera kanthe. Taha ke chue shinilu taha iha vistarilu bhakta gana dilu ei bhete. Whatever I have heard, I have tried to give this as a gift to the devotees. So therefore, I am writing in brief. And therefore, then Kaviraj Goswami, he offers his obeisances to Panchatattva. He says, this Panchatattva, it is the manifestation of Lord Sri Chaitanya. Ei Panchatattva Rupe Sri Krishna Chaitanya Krishna Nama Prema Diya Vishwa Koila Dhanya. So Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his associates, they gave this holy name to the entire world and delivered the world, delivered the universe practically. Krishna Nama Prema Diya Vishwa Kaila Dhanya. Prabhupada is very, very attentive and he gives a very beautiful purport. You know, just see what Prabhupada is, what Kaviraj Goswami is telling. Lord Chaitanya made entire universe thankful to him by giving love of God. So he says, look, there are some foolish critics, they tell that you should not give sannyas to Europeans and Americans. But just see, Mahaprabhu wants this message to be delivered to the entire universe. Who will spread the message? So therefore, Prabhupada tells that we don't care about their criticism. We shall go on with our work and simply we depend on the Supreme Lord. We don't depend on anyone else. We don't depend on all the acceptance of all these foolish people. We don't depend on the acceptance of all these Mayavadi scholars. We just depend on the blessings of Lord Sri Chaitanya. That's how a devotee should be when he's preaching. We should be just depending on the blessings of Lord Sri Chaitanya and all the previous acharyas. They can empower. By their empowerment, even a lame can cross the mountains. Even a dumb can speak beautiful, eloquent poetry. Pangum langhayate girim, mukam karoti vachalam, pangum langhayate girim, yatkripa tamaham vande, Shri Guru Dinataranam. So by the blessings of the Lord, by the blessings of the Parampara, by the blessings of Panchatattva, we can spread this message of Krishna consciousness. That's what Prabhupada is writing. And therefore, Mahaprabhu, he was a great strategist. He very nicely planned how to spread. He was not just a sentimental person dancing in Kirtan. He was a very wonderful strategist. He very strategically sent his generals throughout the India. Mathura te pathaila rupa sanatan, dui senapati kaila bhakti pracharan. He sent Rupa Goswami, Sanatan Goswami to Vrindavan, and through them he preached bhakti. And when Mahaprabhu, he sent Rup Sanatan, who were they? So Mahaprabhu's associates, they were not ordinary people. Mahaprabhu knew that to start an organization, an institution, you need money, you need skills, and you need manpower. So when Mahaprabhu, he chose people, he chose such wonderful people who are very, very capable. Who was Rup Goswami, finance minister? Who was Sanatana Goswami, prime minister? Who was Gopal Bhatta Goswami, the son of the head priest? Who was Raghunath Das Goswami? He was son of a billionaire. Who was Jiva Goswami, most powerful scholar on earth that time. So Mahaprabhu, all his associates, they were very, very powerful people. Because if you want to run an organization, an institution, you need powerful personalities. To perform bhakti on a personal level, we can do it at our home. But if we want to spread bhakti, then we need strategy. Then we need intelligent people. And that's what Mahaprabhu did very nicely. He employed, he attracted such powerful personalities. Mathurate pathaila rupa sanatan duisena pati korila bhakti pracharan. Prabhupada writes in the purport the same thing. Before Sanatan Goswami, Rupa Goswami went to Vrindavan, there was practically no temples in Vrindavan. But Rupa Sanatan Goswami and all the other Goswamis, Rupa Goswami, his temple was Govindaji, Sanatan Goswami, Madan Mohan, Jiva Goswami, Radha Damodar, Gopala Bhatta Goswami, Radha Raman, Shamanand Pandit, Shamasundar temple. Then Loknath Goswami, he established Gokulanand temple. So all these Goswamis, they opened such beautiful temples. So Prabhupada writes, for preaching, constructions of temples is also necessary. One time Prabhupada was giving a press conference in Australia, and one of the reporters, he asked, Swamiji, why are you doing press conference in such a huge hotel? Prabhupada was doing in a 5-star hotel. So this lady, she said, oh, generally saints, sadhus of India, they live simply, they live under a tree, and you are here in such big hotel doing press conference. Prabhupada said, I can sit under a tree and give a talk. Will you come to here? Prabhupada said, we are not interested in living under a tree or in a palace. But because you will come to a palatial place, you will not come to meet a person who is a beggar. Therefore, we have to make these temples. Therefore, we have to make all these grand arrangements so that people can get attracted. That's why Prabhupada wanted to make a temple of Vedic planetarium that will attract the who is who of the world. And now, after so many years, the desire of Prabhupada is getting fulfilled. The devotees, they have made such a huge temple of Vedic planetarium in Mayapur. And for sure, that temple will attract biggest of the personalities of the world. That's the purpose of big temples. So Prabhupada writes, we should open temple. We should distribute books. We should open temples. They must go side by side in parallel lines. So Prabhupada is giving lots of emphasis on temple construction also. And then after sending Rup Goswami and Sanatana Goswami to Vrindavan, he sent Nityananda Prabhu. Nityananda Gosai Pathaila Gauda Deshe Teho Bhakti Pracharila Ashesha Visheshe. So Mahaprabhu, he preached to classes. Prakashananda Saraswati, Sarvabhaum Bhattacharya, Rupa Goswami, Sanatan Goswami, Raghunath Das Goswami, Gopal Bhatta Goswami, Venkat Bhatta. Wherever he went, Mahaprabhu was preaching to the classes. And Mahaprabhu, he wanted somebody to preach to the masses. And Mahaprabhu, he told Nityananda Prabhu, what you are doing, I cannot do. Because Nityananda Prabhu was a married person. He could go to even inconceivable places. Yadimora Nityananda Surabadi Jai. Even if you see Nityananda coming out of a liquor bar, you should never ever doubt his character. You should know that he must have gone there to preach and give this holy names of Lord. So Nityananda Prabhu, he went to each and every personality and begging, please take the names of Lord Sri Caitanya. Please take the names of Krishna. Bolo Krishna, Bhaja Krishna, Kara Krishna, Siksha, Nadiya Godrume Nityananda Mahajan. Atiyache Nama Jata Jivera Karan. Shraddhavan Jan Hai, Shraddhavan Jan Hai. Prabhu Ragyaye Pai Mage Bhiksha. So getting the orders of Lord Sri Chaitanya, Nityananda Prabhu, he preached this message to each and every person, even to the lowest of the people. Such an extent he went to preach and transform Jagai Madhai, because he was thinking, if Jagai Madhai are transformed, then the glories of my Lord will be sung throughout the world. And Mahaprabhu, he knew the power of Lord Nityananda. He could deliver one Jagai Madhai, and that was sufficient to proclaim the glories of Lord Sri Chaitanya to everyone. So mercy of Nityananda Prabhu is our hope. Because we may be thinking we are not so fallen like Jagai Madhai, but we have such demoniac tendencies. Only by taking shelter of Lord Nityananda, we can get purified, we can get rectified. So Mahaprabhu sent Nityananda Prabhu to Gauda Deshe. And then, Apane Dakshina Deshe Korila Gaman Grame Grame Koila Krishna Nama Pracharan. And he himself, he traveled 2 years to South India. And 6 years to South India. And each and every village he was going and transforming people by his Sankirtan. Anybody who would see Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu dancing, singing, they would be transformed. Just by embracing Mahaprabhu, transform one person and he would be ecstatic, dancing, singing, and he would go to his village. He would embrace other people. They would get love of God. In this way, one village would become devotee. Then one person from that village would go to another village. And there he would chant and dance and he would embrace people, and that's how another village would become devotee. So that's how Grame Grame Koila Krishna Nama Pracharan. And then Mahaprabhu, he went to southernmost, that is Kanyakumari. And in this way, he distributed love of God, love of Krishna to everyone. That's the purpose why Mahaprabhu had come with all the Panchatattva. Sei Panchatattva mili prithvi asiya, purve prema bhandarira mudra ugadiya, पांचे मिली लूटे प्रेम करे आस्वादन यत यत पिए तृष्णा बाड़े अनुक्षण. That's why Mahaprabhu had come with all the Panchatattva. They plundered the storehouse of love of God and they distributed to everyone without consideration, without thinking this is qualified, this person is qualified, this person is not qualified. They distributed to everyone. तो कहिला पंच तत्वेर व्याख्यान इहा श्रवणे होए पंच चैतन्य तत्व ज्ञान. Kaviraj Goswami ends this chapter by telling, in this way I have explained the truth of Panchatattva. Anybody who hears the philosophy and explanation about Panchatattva, their knowledge about Lord Sri Chaitanya increases. Prabhupada writes another wonderful explanation in this purport. He says, now there are some Sahajiyas. They don't know the actual importance of Panchatattva. And they concoct their own slogans. So now this is another important thing which Prabhupada is writing. We should be very careful what mantra we are chanting. One time, a few devotees in one of the temples, they were chanting and they were adding bhaja. Bhaja Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Prabhupada, he stopped the kirtan and said, don't add anything to the holy name. Don't subtract anything, don't add anything. Just pure 16 words are sufficient. So one should not change this Hare Krishna mantra or add anything to it. Some Mayavadis, some Sahajiyas, you know what they do? They make their own slogans. Bhajanitay Gaur Radhe Shyam Hare Krishna Hare Ram. Shri Krishna Caitanya Prabhu Nityananda Hare Ram Hare Krishna Hare Ram Shri Radha Govinda. So these are the slogans. They are invented by these Sahajiyas. Prabhupada was very strong against all these Sahajiyas and Apasampradayas. And that's how Saraswati Thakur was. That's how Bhaktivinoda Thakur was. Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he writes a bhajan in that he says, Kabe Navadipe Suradhuni Tate Gaura Nityananda Boli Nishkapate Nachiya Gaiya Berai Bo Chute Batulera Prai Chadiya Vichar. When will that day be mine when I'll chant the holy names of the Lord in ecstasy? And then he says, Kabe Nityananda More Kori Doya Chadaibo More Vishaye Ramaya. When the Lord Nityananda will show mercy on me, when I'll be free from this Vishaya. And then he says, when will I preach this message of Lord Sri Chaitanya? Namera Hatete Dibo Adhikar. When will I preach this message to everyone? So Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he had opened Namahatta. Namahatta means the place where the holy name is sold. It is a marketplace of holy name. So that's what Bhaktivinoda Thakur writes in one of the bhajans. I have opened a marketplace of holy name. Surabhi kunje te namirhat kuleche. I have opened Namahatta, marketplace of holy name. Please come and take it. What is the price you have to pay? Shraddha Mulya Shuddha Nam Se Hate Tebikai. Only price you have to pay is you should be faithful. And then Bhaktivinoda Thakur writes in one of the other bhajans that, I have, so somebody asked Bhaktivinoda Thakur, how did you know that there is a marketplace opened there at Surabhi Kunj? Bhaktivinoda Thakur writes, I am the sweeper at that place. I have the service of cleaning that marketplace. And Bhaktivinoda Thakur writes, what I have cleaned, all these sahajiyas, apasampradayas, they are making this holy, this marketplace of holy name dirty. I have the responsibility and service of cleaning all that. So that's why our acharyas, they were very, very strong and against all these apasampradayas and sahajiyas. So Prabhupada is telling, when we chant, we should not add anything else to the mantra. Just chant Hare Krishna. And before that, one should not add anything to Panchatattva mantra. Bhajanitaya Gaur Radeshyam Hare Krishna Hare Ram. No. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Hare Krishna Hare Ram Shri Radha Govinda. No. One should speak full Panchatattva mantra. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shrivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. So that's how we have to be really careful. We should not add anything. We should not subtract anything from the holy name. And therefore, Kaviraj Goswami himself writes that while chanting this Panchatattva mantra, one must chant full mantra. One must offer respects to all the associates, Shri Krishna Chaitanya, Nityananda, Advaita, Gadadhara, Shrivas, and all the other devotees. One should never ever concoct. Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he was called as Simha Guru. He was so powerful that whenever he would speak, all the apasampradayas, all the sahajiyas, they could not handle him. They could not stay at that place. They would just run away. And there are so many apasampradayas. Aula, Baula, Sakhi, Beki, Gauranga, Nagari, Karta, Bhaja, Neda, and all that. They are still there. In Jagannath Puri, you may find few of these apasampradayas. Somebody is dressed as a male dressed as a female gopi and crying in separation from Krishna, and another gopi, another male dressed as a gopi pacifying that person. Oh, this is all going on. And many times, it would happen in the past, and many devotees would get confused and bewildered, and they would think, actually, our process is to develop gopi bhava, right? But Prabhupada is telling us to chant Hare Krishna and follow 4 regulative principles. Where is gopi bhav in that? And one devotee, he was a very powerful scholar, Nitai Das. In the mid-70s, actually he started associating with some of the Brajavasi Goswami, and he started criticizing Prabhupada. He started criticizing even Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur. He was telling that was Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati, who knows about his sannyas? There was no one when he took sannyas. And I think Bhakti Vedanta Swami Prabhupada, he is not giving us the highest. Because by this sadhana bhakti, we will go to Vaikuntha. By this Vaidhi bhakti, we need to practice Raganuga bhakti. And he wrote a letter to Prabhupada. He said, thank you for teaching me all those things. I'm very grateful to you. But please give me your blessings so that I can go and find the higher, realizations and higher, instructions. And Prabhupada, when he read this letter, he was so angry. Only a few times Prabhupada was so angry. He actually said that this person, he will never be delivered for kalpas. That's how Prabhupada was angry, because till the time he was blaspheming Prabhupada, he didn't take it seriously. But when he blasphemed his spiritual master, Saraswati Thakur, Prabhupada was very angry. So therefore, Saraswati Thakur is he himself was Simma Guru, very powerful, and he was so powerful that nobody could defeat him in logic and argument. So one time, all these people, they actually bribed a policeman, and they told that you kill this sannyasi and sadhu. So this policeman actually he came and met Saraswati Thakur, and he told that, Swamiji, I know that these people, they are wrong, and I have done these things in the past, but I know that whatever you are doing is the right thing. So I can't do any harm to you, but I have just come to warn you. Please be careful. So that's how all these sahajiyas keep inventing so many other different ways. That is not our process. So one devotee, he went to Prabhupada after this Nitai Das left. Revati Nandan Prabhu, this devotee, he went to Prabhupada and said, Prabhupada, there are some devotees who are telling that, I think Prabhupada has not given us the highest. He asked, so, Prabhupada, do we need to go somewhere else to find the higher meanings? Do we need to accept some other guru who will teach us the higher philosophy? Or just by following whatever you have given us, the process of hearing, chanting, everything will be revealed in due course of time? Prabhupada said, yes, that is the right way. You don't have to go anywhere else. Just by practicing the simple process of hearing, chanting, Shravanadi, Shuddha Chitte Karaya Uday, Nitya Siddha Krishna Prema Sadhya Kabunoy, Shravanadi, Shuddha Chitte Karaya Uday. The love will arise in the heart, and then Krishna will reveal our Swarupa. We should not be interested in that, oh, what is my Swarupa? One devotee in Vrindavan, he started associating with other Brajvasi, and you told that your Swarupa in the spiritual world is you are a peacock. And your sadhana is to speak like peacock. So every morning as devotees were chanting, this person, he would move around and jump like peacock, and he would speak like peacock, make sounds like peacock. Prabhupada was very much against all these things. He said, you are just, suffering all these anarthas. Lust, anger, you are drowning in these anarthas, and you are thinking of Gopi Bhava. First get purified of that. Then Krishna will reveal. Because even at that level of bhava, Rupa Goswami writes in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, there are two types of roles a bhava bhakta has. His role as a sadhaka, and sadhak seva sadhaka rupena siddha rupena chatrahi. Seva sadhaka rupa and siddha rupa. In the external world, even a bhava bhakta will continue to follow the rules and regulations of scriptures. They will chant, they will follow regulative principles, the worship of the deity, association with devotees. They will do all that. But internally, they will meditate on the pastimes of that devotee which they want to, follow in the footsteps of. If somebody wants to follow in the footstep of Gopas or Vrindavan, they would hear those pastimes more. But that does not mean they will give up all their rules and regulations. They will give up chanting. No. Sankhya Purvak Nama Gan Nativi Kala Vasani Kritau Nidrahara Vihara Kadi Vijitau Chatyanta Dinau Chayo. So Goswamis, who are Goswamis? They were Manjaris. But while staying in this material world, they continued to follow all the rules and regulations. Sankhya Purvak, they would chant every day, would count. Sankhya Purvak Nama Gana. So that's how Prabhupada, Kaviraj Goswami is telling We should never ever concoct any mantra. While chanting the Panchatattva mantra, one must chant the names of all the tattvas. Panchatattva, Nitya, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Nityanand Prabhu, Advaitacharya, Gadadhar, Srivasa. No additions, no subtractions. And then Mahaprabhu, Kaviraj Goswami ends this chapter by offering obeisances to all the associates of Lord Sri Chaitanya. Sabakare Pad Padma Koti Namaskar Yaiche Taiche Kahi Kichu Chaitanya Vihar. Just see the humility. Every chapter ends with such a humble, representation. Jaiche Taiche Kichu Kahino Chaitanya Vihar. Somehow or other I am writing. Only this is possible only because I am taking dust of each and every devotee. Sabakare Pada Padma Koti, millions of obeisances at the lotus feet of each and every devotee. Sabakare Pad Padma Koti Namaskar. Kaviraj Goswami is not thinking, just see, I am writing a PhD literature. Such humility. Ore Mudhalok Shuna Chaitanya Mangal Chaitanyera Mahimayate Jani Be Shakal. It will come in the 8th chapter. Who is the author who will write and propagate and advertise another author in his book? That is a material world. Nobody will do that. Spiritual world is completely opposite. Kaviraj Goswami is glorifying Chaitanya Mangal, that is Chaitanya Bhagavat. He is glorifying Vrindavan Das Thakur. Ore Moodlok fools, why are you reading my book? Just read Chaitanya Mangal, Chaitanyera Mahimayate Janibe Shakal. Vrindavan Das Koila Chaitanya Mangal, Tahate Chaitanya Lila Varnila Sakalare. Vrindavan Das, he has described everything. Please read that. That is the humility of Kaviraj Goswami. He is never taking any credit for himself. Sabakare Pad Padma Koti Namaskar. Chota Bada Bhaktagam Bando Sabha Sri Charan Sabe More Korah Santosh. Shri Rupa Gosaiyat Rupa Raghunath Janiyat Tai Likhi Nahi Mora Dosh. In Ādī-Līlā, beginning, Kaviraj Goswami again submits his appeal, his plea. Oh devotees, Chota Bada, he is not thinking, ye to abhi devotee, abhi bana hai devotee, ye chota devotee. No. Chota devotee ya bada devotee, Bando Sabha Sri Charan. I offer my respects at each and every devotee's lotus feet. Please show mercy. Please be satisfied with my endeavors. Because if you are not satisfied, how will I be able to write this Chaitanya Caritāmrta? Sabakare Pad Padma Koti Namaskar. And in this way, he ends this chapter by offering obeisances to Rupa Raghunath. Shri Rupa Raghunath Pade Yaras Chaitanya Caritāmrta Kahi Krishna Das. So this is how he ends this chapter. We'll stop here. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Anybody's any questions? Okay, so we'll stop here. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Shri Chaitanya Caritāmrta ki jai.